Sometimes you just want to convert a pixel selection to a path. Now that we have a trace function in the latest Affinity, let's check in this video how we can achieve this. It all starts with a selection. Use any pixel selection tool you like, but for this video, I have already created a selection and saved it as a spare channel. Using the Channels panel, I can load this spare channel as a pixel selection. Now that I have a selection, let's go through the steps to convert this to a path. First step is to add a pixel layer. With the pixel layer selected and the selection still active, I can use the Fill menu from the Pixel Filters Color menu. In the Fill dialog, I'm going to set the fill color to black. In the pixel layer I just created, the selection is now filled with black. As I don't need the selection anymore, I can press Command or Ctrl D to get rid of the pixel selection. Next, I need a white background, which I can either add by using a white fill layer, but this time I'll use a pixel layer. I'll select everything with the Select All option from the Pixel menu, and then add a new pixel layer. Now, if I use the Fill function again, but this time select white as the fill color, I'll get a solid white fill covering the canvas. Let me move this under the pixel layer I created earlier, so it becomes the background for the selection in black. I now have a nice black and white image which I can use for the Trace Image function. However, I'm going to apply a bit of smoothing and sharpening first to get the best trace results. I do notice some small artifacts which I can easily fix by using a black brush to fill the mist-in areas or use the Erase tool to remove them. Once I'm happy with my final black and white image, I'll add a live Gaussian blur filter. Before making any changes in the blur radius, I'll move this to the top of the layer stack. For the radius, I'll use a small amount just to slightly blur it. Now, this feels a bit odd, but if I now add a curves adjustment on top and then adjust the curve to act like a threshold, I'll get a much smoother and sharper image. By adding the blur, we smoothen the image, and the curves adjustment restores this by making the dark grays black and the light grays white. The black and white image is ready to be traced, but I don't need the white background. So to get rid of the white background, I'll select the layers I created and then group them. Once I have the group, I'll right-click and this time rasterize it so I'm left with a single pixel layer. Getting rid of the white background is now super easy by using the Erase White Paper filter from the Pixel Filter menu. Beautiful! I now have a nice black transparent pixel layer, which is ready to be converted to a path. For this, I can use the Image Trace function from the Vector menu. For the Image Trace properties, I usually keep the edge threshold around 50% and the fitting threshold at 100%. Awesome! Because we have a path, it is easy to change the color. I'll select the vector group and set the color I want from the Color panel. Once you have your shape, you can use it in your design or use it as a clipping mask. To speed things up, I created two macros and added them to my selection macro collection, which you can get from the link in the description below. I have two variants, but usually the second one, Path Color Fill, works the best. The first one only works if you have a foreground color selected, which is not the case right now. So let me quickly demonstrate how the macro works by reloading the pixel selection again from the Channels panel. And this is important. You need a pixel selection before you start the macro. Once the macro is applied, a dialog will pop up with some options. You can of course choose the fill color, and you get 3 other options to smoothen the selection before it is converted to a path. The first two are the selection smooth and feather options, and the last one is actually the blur radius used in the Gaussian blur. So, with one click, I converted the pixel selection to a path. Here's a quick tip that might be handy. The Affinity Trace Image function might create multiple paths in the group. If you would like to have one curve path, just select all the items in the group, right-click on the canvas, and from the Geometry menu, use the Add menu item to merge them into a single curve. I hope you like this macro and hopefully it will save you some time. But feel free to create your own macro using the steps I showed earlier, especially if you want to use a different curve for the threshold. The Photo Studio in Affinity has powerful pixel selection tools which you can now utilize to create paths. As mentioned, I use this for simple tracing purposes. For example, if I want to have a single path of the character in this image, converting this to a path with the default trace image is not very helpful, as I will need to find all the different paths and combine them. I find it easier just to select what I need with the pixel selection tool and then use my own macro. Let me know in the comments if you like the macros, and thanks again for tuning in. Hit the like and subscribe buttons before you leave, and see you in the next video.
That they are very good at throwing things with their mouth. Yep.
Oh my God. I got it on film. Get your tongue off my door. Get it off my door.